Welcome to this video on the second activity of our course Introduction to Economics. So here we will be playing around with trade data. So it simply says in this exercise, we will introduce you to the basics of exploring data related to Canada's imports, exports, and trade balances with its economic partners. So what do you have to do? Basically, let's take a look at the submission requirements. Let me actually change the color. So you have to plot a line plot showing the balance of trade relationship between Canada and its partners. So what does it even mean? You can read what it's talking about here. What we mean by imports, exports, what we mean by trade balance, and you have to plot the trade balance. Then after that, you have to plot another chart showing the relationship. So when we talk of the relationship, it means you will show all of this: import, export, and trade balance between Canada and any partner of your choice. So I'm going to do it right now in this video. You can just follow it, but it's your choice to choose the partner you want. As I'm going around, I'll show you how to do that. So what we need to do is to copy this link, and you take it to any browser of your choice, paste it, and it takes us here. So we are interested in the trade balance. We'll wait for a few seconds for it to load the data. It's extracting it from Stats Canada. So here we have the trade data. So I'm going to click there, and I will click the download data. It's going to download it and place it in my download folder. Now, for me to get my data, the proper way is to open a blank Excel worksheet or a blank Excel workbook. I'll open a blank Excel workbook. I'll go to data, go to get data. Given that I'm dealing with a CSV file, I'm going to click on text CSV, and it's going to open a dialog box to enable me to navigate to my download folder, and my data is found in my download folder. So I'm going to take the trade data. I'll click on import, and it's going to take me to another dialog box to enable me to choose transform data. So I'll click on transform data, and it's going to take me to Power Query. Now, once I find myself in Power Query, let me just adjust the size so that you can see everything. So now here is my data. All what I want to check is to make sure that the data type is 1.2. 1.2 means I'm having a decimal type. So if you are using a French computer, just make sure this is 1.2. If it's ABC, then it's important for you to use an English computer, or you convert this from the dot to a comma. So the French, they use virgule, but in English we use the dot. So it's important for this to be 1.2. Of course, this has to be ABC. It means you are using text. This is ABC, this is text, and this is date. That's all what you want to check. If yours looks like mine, you are good to go. You simply go to home, you go to close and load, you click close and load to, and you take OK, as we did last class. Okay, now we want to generate the first chart. So what we are going to do, we will create two pivots. We will pivot this data 2 times in order to generate the charts which are required here. The first one, we are going to pivot and take a look, and then we will pivot again and take a look. Of course, we can do all of it using one pivot, but we just want more practice, and we want to make sure there are no mistakes. The best way is to pivot twice, from my experience with students. So click anywhere inside, go to Insert. On your left, click on Pivot Table, and it's going to give you this dialog box. Just click on OK. And once we do that, the first thing we want to do is to take the trading partners and put them where you have columns. The next thing you want to do is to take value, and you put it where you have values. Now we want the average value, not the sum. So click on sum, click on value field settings, take average, go to number format, take number, make sure the decimal places are 2, OK, OK, and that's amazing. Now we are going to take date, put it where we have rows, and that's what you get. And finally, you will take trade, you'll put it where you have filters. Okay, so you are nearly good to go. Now the last thing we want to do is to go to where you have trade. You can see it's right here. You want to come to this drop down arrow here, click on select multiple items, and once you've done that, all we need is to get the trade balance. So you uncheck everything and you take trade balance and you OK. Now you can see we have trade balance here. These are the countries. So this is a trade balance with the different countries of the world. So all we need to do is to generate a pivot chart, and it's going to show that relationship. So go to pivot chart, click on pivot chart, take line chart, and then OK. Once you do that, it's showing you the relationship Canada has, the trade balance of Canada, and the different countries of the world. Now you see it's very difficult to see what's going on. You can see our best trade balance is basically with the United States. However, you can see what's going on with the other countries. So for you to really understand it, if you come here, it's simply going to tell you that it is the trade balance is the difference between exports and imports. A positive balance means Canada sells more than it buys. A negative balance means the opposite. So you always, most of the time, not all the time, you generally want to be the person selling more than you are importing. That makes sense. Okay, the last thing we want to do for this particular pivot is go to pivot chart analyze, click on slicer. You want to insert a slicer, and you want to insert a slicer by trading partner, and then OK. Once you do that, you want to increase the size of this. If you increase the size, then you equally want to go to the slicer ribbon. This is when this is active. Go to the slicer ribbon and then increase the size of the columns. We'll just make it 4 so that we can see all what we have here. Actually, you can even increase it a bit more and increase a bit more columns and then do some adjustments here. Now I'm going to bring it here so that I can see everything. I can adjust my chart. I can put my thing here. Now I can look at the trade balance. I can choose United States, maybe United Kingdom. I hold down Control key and then I press United Kingdom, and then I can see the relationship. I can hold down Control key and I look for Germany and I press it and I release. I can see that with Germany I'm having a negative trade balance, but with the other two I'm having a positive trade balance. So this simply answers the first question you have. Plot a line plot showing the trade balance, the trade relationship between Canada and its partners. Okay, so actually, the trade relationship, because the trade balance summarizes what's going on between export and import. So if you want to get rid of this selection, just come here and clear filter. This chart shows you that relationship. Now the next chart we want to generate, it says plot another chart showing the trade relationship between Canada and another partner of your choice. So we are going to come back to a table. Now come here, click on trade data. Okay, we want to click there and go back and create another pivot table and then answer that question. So go to insert, pivot table, OK, and then this time you are not going to put trading partners where you have column. You are going to put trade where you have column, the partners, you will put it where you have filter. And where you have value, you'll put it where you have values. Click on it. Value field settings, average, number format, number, OK, OK. And finally, you will take years, you'll put it where you have rows, and then you'll take months, you will put it after years, and then you can leave it like that. It's really up to you. Okay. Now, next thing we want to do, or I'll say the last thing we want to do right now, is just to generate. We want to choose a trading partner, and then we will look at the relationship. But let's just click here and go to Pivot Table Analyze, click Pivot Chart, take line, and then OK. Now, what you see here is basically, so this is showing the relationship you have between all the trading partners. So it's an aggregate of everything, of all the trading partners of Canada. You can see that overall, you can see the overall balance of trade of Canada, and you can see what's going on. Now, what we want to do is to choose a specific country. For that, we simply have to come here, click the drop-down arrow. We have that option to come and click the drop-down arrow and choose a country here. So I can click select multiple, uncheck everything, and maybe just take one country. Let's say I take China and I OK. Now you can see what's going on with China. However, a much more interesting way to achieve the same thing is to go to Pivot Chart Analyze. So always make sure this is active or your pivot table is active. Click Insert Slicer, take Trading Partners, OK. Increase the size depending on your screen size, and then increase the number of columns you have. That will enable you to fit it here. So now if I want to look at the relationship with, let's say, Iraq, I can see it. If I want to look at Italy, France, Singapore, and so on, you can clearly see that here we import much more than we export to China. So we are having a negative trade balance. You can see we started at the same place, but as time went on, we started importing much more than we are exporting to China, and we end up with that trade balance. So this, you just need to take this chart into your Word document. This is the initial one. You take this into your Word document. You also take this into your Word document, and of course, you need to discuss the inside gains from the data analysis. And when we talk of real-world implications, what does it mean? What's the implication? Why should we care? Use the approach we use in class. Now, this should be done in groups so that you can have a nice discussion about it. But if you really want to do it alone, go for it. But I encourage you to do it in groups of max 5 students. Have fun.